If you're not where you want to be in real estate right now, I'm here to tell you something that might not be what you want to hear, but rather that you need to hear, which is that it's not going to be the next tip, trick, strategy, or tutorial that's going to get you to where you want to be. You need to rewire your habits, your standards, and how you operate in order to even properly leverage training at the highest level to scale your real estate business. So many people, even coaches, are telling you that you need to learn this next follow-up strategy or the next opening script, but that's not actually the case. We need to help you execute on a higher level every single day, making sure that you're disciplined, consistent, properly managing your time, and being productive but not busy. And what I want to do today is break down a complete blueprint of how to crush it as a real estate agent, regardless of which level you're at. The current market conditions are a little bit crazy, and so many people are lost, and I want to make sure that you are found. So what I've done is I've put together a mashup of my best strategies of what you need to do today and that you can actually execute on today in order to see an immediate difference in your real estate business and start to actually feel the tangible progress and growth of your business every single day. So let's dive into basically how to crush it as a real estate agent, regardless of the market conditions, regardless of what happened in the last 12 months, and make sure that you are rewiring how you execute so that you don't get distracted, you don't get overwhelmed, and you start getting into action, and action that's proven to actually lead you to massive success. Let's show you how to become a mindset weapon and dominate as a realtor. Number one, understanding that comparison is the death of joy. This is what so many agents do wrong, and I did this wrong in the beginning, which is comparing yourself with every other agent. One of the things that I did wrong in the beginning, and thankfully once I got over this, I became a top producer, as you can see from the awards up here, which is that I was a new agent, young, just got my license, just moved to the city, didn't know anybody, no experience. But I was looking at all these top producing agents in my market, and they were doing all these deals. They were posting all their new listings, all these cool luxury properties, all the tours, everything. And what it was doing is I was being like, well, damn, why do they have all these clients? Why don't I have these clients? What's wrong with me? And by comparing yourself to other agents, you have no idea how much experience they have. You have no idea what their work ethic is. You have no idea what connections they have based on themselves or their family or past history or whatever. You do not understand their situation. And even if you do, comparing yourself to anybody is the worst thing you can do. And that's also going to bleed into the second thing I want to talk about. But you should just be focused on getting better every single day yourself. And when I started focusing on just getting better myself, my business exploded. And this is why you'll see I only follow local realtors that are in my RevShare organization at eXp Realty. And I don't look at any realtor stories. I don't look at anybody. I'm not comparing myself with anybody else. Everybody says, Mike, did you see what this agent's doing? Did you see what that guy did? My answer will always be no. I don't look at any of them because I know as long as I focus on getting better myself, I will be able to dominate any market. Number two, what you focus on expands. This is incredibly important and what so many agents do wrong, which is the fact that they're constantly focusing, which expands, they're constantly focusing on, oh my God, I don't have any clients. Oh my God, why don't I have any deals? Oh my gosh, I have no money coming in. Why am I not doing this? Why don't I have this? I hate doing that. I don't want to prospect. They're constantly focusing on the negatives. They're focusing on lack instead of abundance. They're focusing on the negatives instead of the positives. And they're focusing on what's going wrong and not what could be going right. And what's happening is that is expanding. And as you start to go down that rabbit hole and you continue to think about that, it expands and it just becomes your new reality. Whereas if you have no deals, you have no experience, and you're financially stressed, whatever, say, I'm going to get a deal this month. I'm going to prospect even though I hate it because I know it's going to give me a deal this month. I'm going to do all these things because I know it's going to bring clients to me. And when you start focusing, saying, at the end of this year, I know I'm going to be a top producer. I know I'm going to crush those deals. This is why a lot of people talk about manifestation, which I practice what I preach. I've manifested everything in my life, the Lamborghini, everything else. And I talk about this all the time because it expands. If you focus on the positives, great things are going to come into your life, positive things. If you focus on the negatives, your life is going to be flooded full of negative things. So again, this is why it's really important to understand that what you focus on expands. Number three, be willing to adapt. The ones that win in business, entrepreneurship, real estate, whatever, are not the ones with the most experience or the most money. It's the ones that are the most willing to adapt. This is incredibly important, especially as we're going into a shifting, tightening market, recession, crash, whatever the heck is going to happen. It's really important to understand that you need to be adapting to the current markets. And this is going to, again, bleed into the next one. You have to be in a position where you're willing to get outside of your comfort zone and do things that are not traditional to you or comfortable or normal or status quo to you, because you have to adapt with the market. And if you adapt with the market, you get ahead of all the agents that aren't willing to, which is going to allow you to gobble up a ton of market share. Number 4, be willing to learn new skills. This is where a lot of agents go wrong, where they get into real estate and they say, I don't want to do video, so I'm just not going to do video. Or I'm not a techie person, so I'm just not going to learn how to run ads. And they start saying, well, I'm not going to do all this stuff. Well, just wait until the market turns, and it's starting to, because all those agents will be out of the business. When you start looking at this, unfortunately, a lot of realtors stopped learning in college, university, high school, wherever they stopped their education. And the reason for this is when you look at, education systems, if you don't learn something new, like a new math equation or a new science calculation or whatever formula, you fail. The repercussions are immediate. You have to learn that, otherwise you cannot graduate. The problem with real estate and business and entrepreneurship is that if you don't learn these skills, the repercussions are delayed. You don't get a slap on the wrist today. You don't get fired. You don't fail yet. You will fail in 6, 12, 18 months when you're broke and you have no business because you weren't willing to continue to learn. So it's really important that you need to be a student of the game. You need to be learning new skills. You need to, again, if you're not comfortable on video, get comfortable on video. If you've never run an ad, learn it. If you've never done short form content, try it out. And it's really important to, again, always be learning, because that's going to allow you to stay ahead of the curve. It's going to allow you to adapt to any market condition, and it's going to make sure that you crush it. Number 5, one thing that many people do wrong, which is building a foundation and dialing in the basics. This is a mindset that a lot of people don't really understand, even though they say that they do, which is the foundational aspect of it. If you talk to 100% of top producing agents, I can almost guarantee that all of them leverage their sphere, use a CRM, and the majority of their business comes from repeat and referral because they leverage their sphere and they use a CRM. Whereas if you see a lot of agents that can't break that 6-figure mark or can't break the $500,000 mark, and they're just kind of floating around $100,000 to $200,000 every year and can't break that plateau, it's because they're not dialing in the basics. You need a foundation to build off of. Whereas a lot of people's foundations cracked, crumbling, or non-existent, so their whole business is hanging on by a thread. So it's really important that you start from the beginning. If not, start now to properly leverage things like a CRM, which is going to allow you to generate more business and build something scalable on top of a robust foundation. And number 6, create leverage of your time by focusing on outsourcing systems and processes. This is really important, and kind of the mindset approach to this might better be said as understanding the difference between an investment and an expense. A lot of agents have this perspective, or just entrepreneurs in general, which is that if money's going out, it's an expense. But if money is going out and you're outsourcing something for a low dollar per hour value activity, and you're investing your time that you would have been doing that $5, $10 an hour activity, you gave that to a VA or somebody on Fiverr, and then you go invest that same hour into prospecting, door knocking, cold calling, creating more content, going to a networking event, whatever you decide to do, as long as it's an income producing activity. Well, if your average hourly wage is like $50 an hour, $100 an hour based on the income producing time you spend and the amount of commission you're making, well, now you're going to build a very scalable business. The problem is a lot of agents are doing all these low dollar per hour activities because they think that they just want to save $10 instead of outsourcing it for $10 and investing that time into getting another deal, which could net them $10,000. So this is a really important thing, is to start to look at creating leverage. And again, that's why being an engineer, systems and processes are what I thrive on, because it's scalable. You can build off it, you can duplicate it, you can grow it. And a lot of people don't have a proper system and process for working with buyers, working with sellers, nurturing their clients, things like that. And that's ultimately why they struggle to scale and break through any plateaus.
People sit on their hands in real estate industry. I mean, Gene, you work with a lot of real estate agents. Now, none of your clients, of course. But I mean, you see, Gene, you deliver leads to clients all the time, and they don't hustle for it. What do you think is that difference between someone like Mike, who hustles and grinds and just has the mental mind space of like, I'm a killer, I'm a king, I'm gonna dominate my market space, to the average Joe real estate agent? Actually, we'll call him Bob, because we haven't ripped on Bob in a while from Remax.
Bob from Remax.
That fucker, dude. That fucking guy. But I mean, Gene, where's that difference that you see? Because you work with so many different types of agents.
Hunger, 100%. Like Mike wants to be the lion, right?
Right.
He wants to be the king of the jungle, and I think so. Listen, even some of my clients do it, and I do it. Sometimes you're too busy, quote unquote, too busy. Sometimes you're
too busy.
You're too comfortable, air quote, too comfortable, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's the wrong timing. Sometimes you screw it up. I mean, there's a million ways to Sunday, but I think what Mike said was really important is, and you sort of backed it up, but that air of confidence is a killer. That's your best. Like, we talked about this years ago, right? On this show, where my business blossomed when I went from, please buy my service, I think we're really good, to, look, man, I'm here to help you, and we're as good as it gets. And if you're willing to pay for as good as it gets, we can do what you need us to do. And if not, that's fine, right? Because I know that there's other people waiting. So the level of confidence when that shifts in your favor and you're holding your chest higher, and you know that you can beat other people with your creative marketing. So Mike's already told us a couple ways that he does these things, and he already knows he's got a leg up on some of the older agents because they're not outdoor knocking. They're most likely not using Instagram.
Nah.
Right? And by the way, I think you should tell everybody real quick, and you don't have to, obviously, but I can't imagine why you wouldn't. What's your Instagram username so they can go follow you?
Yeah, thanks so much. It's Mike.Sherrard.
Yeah, so I would love to go see what you did for that $15 million listing. As far as the marketing goes, I would love to see. And Greg, here's one more thing, too, because we talk about this over the last couple of weeks. Ever since 2019 came, I've been pitching vulnerability. And, Mike, you said it in a roundabout way, but people love the fact that you're vulnerable. I keep hearing that when people watch my videos, they go, I just love that you're vulnerable. Whether it's me, I had this one video one time that I did where it hit me at 2 o'clock in the morning, dude, and I was doing, I don't know if you saw it, Greg, and I kind of started to cry a little bit. It had to do with somebody who passed away.
Oh, yes, I did see that.
And it was funny because I didn't say anything. I just came to my office. I just went live, and I said what I needed to say, and you could tell that I was emotionally tore up.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't say anything, and I let it go. I went to bed. And the next morning, my wife calls me, and she's like, why am I getting text messages if you're okay? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I don't know. What are you, crying on social media or something? But I got a lot of really good feedback on the fact that people appreciated that I said what I had to say. I didn't give a shit what it looked like. It was important for me to get the message out. People came back and said, I was helped by that. It made me feel like it was important. It was special. And I think 2019, 2018 and previous was all about looking good, man. I'm driving a Maserati because I'm crushing the money game. Well, now everybody can do that, right? Like, you can just go out and rent one for the day and make it look like you're a super mega agent. People know that that's available, so it looks less important. What's important now is, Mike, what do you do in your spare time, buddy? What are you doing? Are you out hustling? Are you a nice guy? You giving to charity? What do you have a family? How about the kids? Why, like, now that I have access to you 24/7, I'm looking more for the real shit than I am for that other stuff that looks fancy. And I think that vulnerability for me, that's what I'm preaching for 2019. And I don't think you got to go out and cry about it. But when you go out and you show them your license, people are like, look, you lose, dude. The best agents in the business lose listings. Yeah. I don't care who you are. And that's sometimes it's because the potential client has a brother-in-law that they like better than you for some reason, and they just feel like they got to give it to their family. But you're going to lose listings. So for you to tell me you hit 100%, I'm calling bullshit. You're lying to me. I don't trust you now. So show me the real stuff. I just lost that. Help me understand what I need to do to get better. Like, that vulnerability from that perspective is going to attract followers more and more. I love that.
Mike, are you putting some vulnerability into your business right now as well?
Big time, man, 100%. I love that what Gene was talking about is, the 2019 trends. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the MFCEO project by Andy Frisella, but he recently did a video on the future of social media influencers. And I love what he said. He said the mathematical formula for engagement on social media 2019 going forward is E2I equals FC. entertainment, education, and impact equals focused engagement.
Wait, hold on. You got to
Yeah.
do that. You got to do that again.
Back the
Seriously,
fuck up.
You got to do it again.
E2I what?
E2I equals FC. So entertainment, education, and impact equals focused engagement. Because what happened, and I actually talked to a guy who works at Instagram, and they were saying that early on they were rewarding the booty pics and the things like that because they wanted to reward people that were grabbing attention.
Right.
But now what's happening is the value from that's diminishing, and instead of getting 1,000 heart emojis and googly eyes on a photo, what really matters is someone commenting being like, wow, you look amazing, how can I get the same results? Or wow, I love, do you have a diet plan that can help me look like that? It's the focus engagement that's going to start winning, and not just the overall quantity. And that's the same that goes with real estate. You have a really neat opportunity to educate and entertain if you're going through a property inspection and you see something really weird that people might not ever think about, and you can educate them, but in an entertaining way. And by doing so, you can impact them because that's something that they'll carry with themselves. So there's so many opportunities that we have as real estate agents that people, the general public, has never seen before, whether it be a luxury property or a foreclosure, something disgusting, something quirky, something neat that we can use to entertain, educate, and further impact people. And that's what's going to quantify the focus engagement. And over time, what you're seeing is, even the influencers that are getting paid, the ones that are getting paid millions now aren't the ones with 1 million followers. They're the hyper engaged niche ones with 50,000 that are very niched into a topic. And the real estate agents that are winning are the ones like, you, Greg, Brian, Kevin, some people like that are really honing in their craft and sharing value with people. And that's what's qualifying them to get this, mass amount of focused engagement.
Number one, the principle of one thing, which ironically applies in 2 different ways. Now, the first way is focusing on one singular task until completion, focusing on one thing at a time. A quote that changed my life was by a mentor of mine who said, Mike, the man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. And a lot of people are focusing and getting scatterbrained on so many different things where they're being very mediocre at a lot of things, but not excelling and becoming excellent at one thing. So if you look at entrepreneurs that are thriving, they focus on one single thing until that is executed. So let me give you a couple of examples. This could be, if you've got a to-do list for the day, focusing on one thing at a time until completion. One of the things many people struggle with is they do a task 25% of the way, then they move on to something else. Then they come back to it and work on it a little bit more, and then something else. But if you want to thrive and build massive momentum, it does take discipline and grit, but focusing on one thing at a time until that's executed to completion. This also goes towards things like, for example, what I help a lot of people with, which is social media to scale their real estate business. So for example, if you want to implement YouTube into your business, focusing on just YouTube until you start to see tangible results from it, not focusing on YouTube for 3 months and then, oh, it didn't work out, I'm going on to TikTok. Oh, TikTok didn't work out, great, I'm going to Instagram. But doing that one thing until you excel at it. Now, the second way one thing applies is in terms of learning. So one of the things you'll see is people are going to events, seminars, buying programs, paying for coaching, expecting for it to change their life and expecting a whole slew of different things to come from that is basically just going to do the work for them, which does not happen. So the way that I've excelled is if I buy somebody's program, if I pay for coaching or mentorship, if I go to an event or a seminar or some sort of webinar, my goal is to take one thing from that learning experience that I can apply to my business to see a difference. I see this in my own program. There's so many people that will buy it and just expect for it to change their world without any execution or any effort on their part. But the way that I've been able to win in business is all that I'm looking for every single time I'm learning something, reading a book, going to any sort of event, is what is one little thing that I can take from that if I apply it consistently, it will make a positive difference in my business. Number 2 is going to be delayed gratification, which is embracing the long game. A lot of people in today's society are focusing on immediate gratification because of social media and other things, but you'll see that the ones that win in business are the ones that are able to extend the time horizon the furthest for which they're expecting to see tangible results. So for reference, being consistent with the example we gave in point number 1 is going to be YouTube. So if I'm going to introduce YouTube into my business, my perspective is if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it forever. So I don't look at applying something like YouTube and saying, well, if I don't get a client in 3 months, it doesn't work for me, it must not be my thing. If I'm going to do something, my mindset is if you can't do it for a lifetime, don't do it for a day. So when you can extend that time horizon for which you're expecting tangible results, you're less focused on the pressures and the unrealistic expectations of saying, well, this person did it in 3 months, this person did it in 1 month, this person did it in 2 weeks, and more so focusing on the principle, the application, and doing that for a long period of time. It is inevitable that you're going to see massive success, but you're now not worrying about the burden that's weighing heavy on you of these unrealistic expectations that you've put on yourself falsely because of the immediate gratification approach that so many unfortunately take. So if you can start to approach delayed gratification to every single thing that you do, you will see a massive difference in your growth. Number 3 is consistency. The only way that you can excel and exceed at anything is to increase the repetitions executed on that specific activity. So if you look at how I became the #1 personal attractor globally at EXP, I didn't do anything special. I was just more consistent at providing more value than anybody else. If you looked at a lot of what I've done to grow, for example, my YouTube audience, I haven't done anything special. I just haven't missed a week of content for the last 3 years straight. I've been more consistent. And a lot of people are waiting for perfection, but we all know that number 1, perfection is impossible, but number 2, the only way that you can work toward perfection is continuous execution through action and improving over time, which introduces the concept of consistency. So whether you're doing cold calling, door knocking, prospecting or any shape or form, short form content, long form content, it does not matter. You are guaranteed to see massive progress and excel at that activity if you're consistent for a prolonged period of time, which goes back to the first 2 concepts of focusing on one thing at a time, embracing delayed gratification, and as you're more consistent with those results, it is guaranteed that you will see massive success with that activity. Number 4 is trusting the process. There's another simple concept that I encourage you to embrace, which is if one man or woman can do it, so can another man or woman. And what I mean by that is that the process has been proven to succeed at every given thing in life. So do not try and reinvent the wheel, but also if somebody has succeeded with it, then you can too. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. Again, if you're focusing on one thing, embracing delayed gratification and being consistent with that activity. The important thing to do as you start to grow your business is just trust proven processes. You can look at this in any line of business, but using the example we've talked about consistently throughout this video of YouTube, well, if you follow the proven process that I've shared so many times on my channel, well, if all of these agents have been able to do it, there's no difference in reason why you can't do it. But so many people get inside of their own head and start to create chaos that is making them have limiting beliefs that they can't do it because they think that these other people had some sort of unique scenario that allowed them to succeed, but that's really not the truth. And the way that I've been able to thrive in business is I just look at proven processes that others have been able to prove to me and to the world and follow it. I don't try and reinvent the wheel. I don't try and do anything unique aside from putting my own personalized unique spin on what they've done, but by trusting these proven processes consistently and not focusing on too many things at once, this allows you to be put on the straight and narrow path and not be wandering all over the place wondering if what you're doing will work out. If you follow proven processes for a prolonged period of time, it is guaranteed to work out. Number 5 is a massive massive one for me, and I've talked about this very briefly in certain videos, but it completely changed my business forever, which is the concept of unattachment. And what I mean by that, again, we'll stay consistent with the example of YouTube, is yes, I've got 80,000 subscribers or whatever it is by the time you watch this video. But the thing that I'm very aware of is that I'm not special, I'm not unique. And if you're looking to grow your audience, you're looking for new people to find out about you. So where I'm going with this is that I still rewatch all of my own videos start to finish before they go live. But whenever I'm putting out a video, let's say a video on YouTube for real estate agents, I will type that into YouTube and I will look at the top 3 ranking videos and watch them start to finish. And then I will watch my own and I will say unbiasedly, in unattached ways, if I did not know who I was, what I've achieved, or anything about me, and I came across my video and these other 3 that are currently ranking number 1, 2, and 3 on YouTube, would I watch my own? Do I find my own is actually more valuable, entertaining, and educational than the 3 that are currently ranking? Just because I put it out doesn't mean it's special, doesn't mean it's better than the others. I have to look at it in an unattached way. Same thing goes for thumbnails, for example. I will take my thumbnail and put it beside the top 3 that are ranking and say, if I did not know who I was, what I've achieved, or have never heard of me before, would I honestly click on mine versus the top 3 that are ranking? And by taking that very unbiased approach, it allows me to put myself in the shoes of consumers and embrace consumer behavior. The same thing goes for lead generation. I look at any ad that I'm going to run and I say, if this ad landed in front of me, would I click on it? Would I put my information in knowing that somebody's gonna reach out to me? Is there enough value to make me want to do that? As somebody that is not in the real estate space, doesn't know who you are, is your ad valuable enough? Same thing goes with short form content or organic content. If your video, your TikTok or your reel landed in front of me, would I like it? Would I comment on it? And would I go so far as to either share it, save it, or click on your profile and follow you? If you wouldn't do that on your own content, you can't expect other people to do it as well. So as you start to apply this unattached approach to every single thing you do, you're putting yourself in the behavior of how everybody else is going to interact. So that way you can start to audit what you do and guarantee that it's going to be performing properly because of the fact that you would unbiasedly engage with your own content, meaning others will as well. Number 6 is going to be focusing on base hits. This is incredibly important because so many people focus on home runs, infrequent home runs, instead of consistent singles. Games are usually won with the consistent singles. And yes, as you consistently execute on the singles, the home run inevitably happens because you put yourself in a position to allow it to happen. But there's so many people that are executing in ways where they're hoping this big monster opportunity is going to present itself instead of focusing on just getting better every single day, focusing on singles and making incremental progress consistently instead of hoping to God that you're going to have some sort of enormous lottery winning opportunity that's just going to come your way. And as you start to focus on this small incremental progress, that's what has completely built my business. If you start to look, for example, at what I've done to become the #1 personal attractor globally at eXp Realty, that is one-by-one conversations. You see so many agents that are saying, well, I know this massive broker that it has 100 agents in my market, and if I just get them, or if I just get this massive luxury listing, I'm gonna get 100,000 in commission, it will change my life. But the ones that win are the ones that are focusing on, instead of getting the $10 million listing, they're focusing on getting consistent $500,000 listings that will lead you inevitably to the same commission, but consistently, instead of focusing on that infrequent home run. But the really cool part is, because I did so many singles, I've had brokerages of over 130 agents partner with me. I've had $15 million listings, and those come to you because you develop the skill set through putting yourself in that position to receive those incredible opportunities. But focusing on singles and base hits instead of the infrequent home runs is guaranteed to see progress in your business. Number 7 is one so many people struggle with, which is embodied belief. you actually need to have a deep-rooted belief that you can achieve it. I talk to so many people in business. We'll use the reference of real estate agents where they say, Mike, I want to do 24 deals in my first year. They don't even consciously believe that they can do 24 deals in their first year. Or I want to get into luxury. Deep down, they don't even believe that they're capable of doing it. If you hook them up to a lie detector test, it would go off the charts because they're saying it, but they don't believe it. And this goes to the concept of manifestation, where if you look at my Instagram back in 2017, I was posting that one day I'm gonna have a purple Lamborghini. Well, at that point in 2017, I had $5,000 in my bank account, which is like an oil change on one of these things. But I was so confident in myself that I will make it happen one day. I spoke it into existence and I had an unwavered belief that I would be able to do it, that it came true. Because no matter what, there was nothing that sidetracked my belief in myself that I was going to achieve exactly what I wanted to in business, in life, in anything. So a lot of people are going to prop you up, give you encouragement, but if you don't deeply believe that you're capable of achieving what you're telling yourself you're going to do, you're never going to do it. So that comes down to the number one reason people fail in entrepreneurship and business and real estate, which is mindset. It's not that you don't have the right tools or strategies or mentorship or any of that. You already know what you need to do in business. You just aren't believing that you can actually do it. So as you start to work on your mindset and your internal belief, that is what's going to ultimately change your work ethic, your consistency, and your drive and motivation toward making sure that you're doing the right activities consistently over a long period of time that will lead you to that, because it started with your own personal belief. Number 8 is self-integrity, which is the ability to bet on yourself. Now, this is something that has completely changed my life and business, and it all stems from confidence. But how do you build self-integrity and the confidence to execute? That comes from following through with commitments and promises that you make yourself. So many people are so used to disappointing themselves consistently by not following through with what they say they're going to do that it becomes the norm. So what I mean by this is I talk to so many agents to say, Mike, you know what? I'm excited about video. I'm going to get on YouTube. I'm going to record this Monday, for example. And what do they not do? Record on Monday. Oh, life happened. Things get in the way. I'll record on Wednesday. And somebody wants to go for a coffee meeting. Yeah, treat it as a negotiable. Go for the coffee meeting. I can do it on Saturday. And by not following through with the promises and commitments you make to yourself, you are building up this habit of lack of self-integrity to the point where if you say something, you say you're going to do something, you say you're going to achieve something, you don't even believe that you're going to be able to do it because you don't have the confidence that you're going to follow through with your word. And as you start to follow through with the small things, oh, I'm going to put the dishes away, I'm going to clean the house today, and you do it. I'm going to prospect today, and you do it. I'm going to record videos today, and you actually do it. That starts to build up the belief system in yourself and the self-integrity and confidence that when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it, which not just helps your business, but it helps your partners and the people around you to the point where people will see you execute on what you say you're going to do. And that starts to attract more success into your business and your life. Problems and failures are inevitable in business and life. We are all going to face them, but ultimately those who fail let those problems and failures depict their business, and it makes them ultimately get into a rut and start to go into this plateau or downward spiral that really doesn't have to be the case. Now, there's 6 questions that you need to start asking yourself every single time that you run into a problem or a failure in your business and life. And what I'm going to do in this video is break down using a business example in real estate so that you can properly understand how to apply these questions. Because if you start to apply an audit every single time you run into an issue or have a certain failure or setback in your business, this will start to allow you to get outside of that and build massive momentum from that certain situation. So without further ado, let's dive in to how you can leverage failures and problems in order to skyrocket your business and not let it get to you and start to weigh down your progress and momentum. Okay, so because my channel is primarily tailored toward business, I'm going to use a business example in real estate where somebody maybe lost a client. So maybe you lost a client and that's a problem, that's a failure, that's a setback. And oftentimes people will let that affect them for days, weeks, sometimes even months. It starts to weigh heavy on you. It starts to make you feel like you're not able to do it, like it's not possible for for you, like you're not cut out for it, and it really takes a toll mentally on the progress that you should be making on your business. So let me explain how to approach a scenario like that. But these 6 questions apply to anything in your business and life. So the first question you want to ask yourself, and this is a little bit cliche, but the ones from 2 to 6 are going to make a little bit more sense. But question number 1 is, what can I learn from this? So what can you take from this situation to learn so that it either doesn't happen again or that you can avoid it happening in the future? So let's say you lost that client, you lost that listing presentation. There's a couple things that you could learn from that experience. You could learn that maybe you need to have a better understanding of your client's needs before going into some pitch. Maybe you need to dial in your listing presentation, or maybe you even need to get a better value proposition or learn a new skill set so that you can differentiate yourself from the agent that you maybe lost the listing to, so that you can start to stand out above and beyond the rest. But each and every failure and setback should be a learning experience. Instead of saying, woe is me and that, I'm not cut out for it, start to look at what you can take from that, because every single failure is not a fail, it's a first attempt in learning. Typical acronym that people like to refer to, but it's very much the truth. So the next time something happens, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what can you actually learn from this experience so that you can improve going forward? Now, the second question is, what is great about this? What kind of great aspect can come from this failure or setback? So using this example, it could be the fact that now you've been able to identify the weaknesses that you have in your business so that those don't compound and you don't continue to lose business. You've now identified the holes in your bucket so that you can plug them, so that you could start to improve as an entrepreneur, as a realtor, so that you could start to win more listing presentations. But there's always beauty in every sort of setback and failure or problem that you face. It's just, what can you find in that is a positive aspect that you can now apply to your business? The third question you want to ask yourself is, what is not perfect yet? The keyword being yet. Using this current example, it could be that you've identified that you don't stand out enough amongst the other agents in your market center to make it a clear, obvious, undisputed choice that you are the go-to person to work with. Now, ultimately, the keyword being yet means that as we start to go through the remainder of these questions, what are we going to do to make it perfect? And what are we willing and not willing to do to make it perfect? Because once we've identified the solution, we've identified what we can learn from it, we've been able to figure out what's great about this opportunity that we now have to learn. Well, now what are we going to do to make it perfect? So that goes into question number 4, which is, what are you willing to do to make it the way that you want it? Now, that might not be perfect, because the next question is going to be something that is in contrast to that. But let's talk about this, for example, so that you better understand how to apply this to a certain situation. What you need to do here is identify the certain changes that you're willing to do and the effort that you're willing to put into new things or into different things in order to make the changes, to make it perfect based on what you're willing to do. And this again is a key word, because I'll talk about it after this. So maybe what you're willing to do to make it perfect or make it the way that you want it, being you want to win more or every listing presentation, you want to get to the point where it's very obvious that you're the person for the job. You're willing to revise your marketing material. You're willing to study the market data every single day for 1 hour so that you can have better knowledge that you can apply to the questions that your clients have. You're willing to get outside of your comfort zone to put yourself on video so that you can have a differentiating factor that separate you from other agents. Maybe you're even willing to overhaul your branding so that you look more professional. You stand out amongst the others so that when clients are looking at what you do, what you present, that it really does look a cut above, so that you're showing, not just telling, because a lot of agents talk about what they do, but very few can actually show what they do. So maybe you're willing to build a portfolio of a new case study showing new overhauled branding, better quality listing photos, property tours, so that your videos stand out and you can show your clients what their property would look like when working with you and how you can get more exposure and being more in tune with the market so that you can better study the data. Maybe you're also willing to partner with a more experienced agent so that you can avoid the risk of people saying you don't have experience, you haven't done a deal in this market or at this price point or like our property or worked with people like us, and you're willing to remove the ego and emotion from the conversation and partner with somebody that has more experience, co-list it with them so that way you're able to win the listing. Question number 5 is going to be in contrast to that, which is what are you not willing to do to make it the way that you want it? So this is a very interesting one, and the reason being is that going back to one of the other videos on my channel, if you want it, drop a comment below. It's life-changing, talking about the 5 Ds that keep you from fulfilling promises to yourself. The reason why we want to ask the question of what are we not willing to do is that now if you start to go through the motions of making these changes, you're not breaking any promises. You've already identified what you're not willing to do. And by setting the context and creating that container of what you're willing to do and not willing to do, you can now create a path forward that allows you to fulfill your promises, fulfill the commitments, make those constructive changes, but not disappoint yourself, because from day one, you've identified the things you're not willing to do. So for example, maybe you lost a luxury listing or a listing at a higher price point, and maybe you dressed a little bit too casually, but that's very genuine and authentic to you. Maybe they were looking for somebody that looked more the part, that is very buttoned up, clean pressed, suit, tie, the whole 9 yards, a very traditional luxury agent. And maybe something that you're not willing to do because you want to, and rightfully so, you want to be authentic to yourself and you want to have a brand that relates to you in your true form. You're not willing to change how you dress or your appearance in order to adhere to what the average person at that price point is looking for. So you're not going to change how you dress. That's fine. Maybe you're not willing to spend a certain amount of money in order to have a larger presence in that market. You're not willing to, or maybe you're not able to spend a certain amount of money on paid advertising so that you can become top of mind in that area. Maybe you're not willing to spend a certain amount of money on flyers or brochures or mailers or bus benches, billboards, or sponsoring events and things like that, because maybe you just can't, or maybe you don't want to. But by creating that confined understanding of what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do allows you to go to the final aspect and the last question, which is how can you enjoy this process? Now, there's a couple ways that you could do this in terms of my own experience, at least. And of course, you can apply this to your own business. But the first is gamifying it. One of the things that has allowed me to build massive momentum is I gamify a lot of things. I look at how can I win? How can I build momentum and make certain changes that allow me to win that next listing? That's like winning a game. How can I win just one more? Winning a game. How can I get to the championship of doing the 24 deals and what to do to win that game? And when you can start to gamify it, of feeling a sense of pride when you win that next listing presentation because of the fact that you're making these constructive changes, that starts to make it an enjoyable process because you're working towards something. Now, simultaneously, what I bought into a lot of times when things didn't go right is I bought into the journey of growth, and I loved seeing the transformation as I started making some of these changes of overhauling my marketing so I look different, I show up different, my brand presence is stronger. That was exciting and I really enjoyed that. One of the other things that I started doing is getting really excited about the listing videos and the video content that I was doing for myself and clients and my local market, and being prideful about the outcome of a really well done video and getting excited about that and enjoying the process, seeing my videos perform better, seeing my following going up, seeing more reach outs and leads coming from the content that I'm putting out that's a next level above because of this whole situation. So the moral of the story is we're all going to deal with failures, setbacks, disappointments, things that don't go well. The question is, or the 6 questions are, what we went through today that you need to start asking yourself so that those setbacks and failures don't become detrimental to your business, but rather become a catalyst for massive growth so that you can take your business to the next level.